And welcome everyone to another episode of Unleash the Cragle. I am your host, Jonathan Cragle, and I want to thank you for joining us today. I'm going to jump right into the episode. And today, for your motivational Monday or whatever day you happen to be listening to this, we're going to talk about procrastination. And so one of the biggest issues that people struggle with, whether it is taking action on a part of their life, whether it's work, relationships, getting healthy, going to exercise, getting up in the morning, going to bed at night, making hard decisions, easy decisions, whatever, seems to be procrastination. And we're not going to break down the meaning of it. Basically, if I were to make a layman's version of it, it's pro, which is active, and procrastination. And we could look at the etymology of it, but basically it is active taking not action. That's kind of my way of saying it. Pro, positively not acting. And really, it's a funny way of saying it, but you could look up the etymology or the meaning or exactly what the word breaks down to. But we all know it to mean delaying an action, delaying something that should be done, delaying doing some sort of action. Health is something we procrastinate on. Doing a hard part of work is things that we will procrastinate. Cleaning up our house can be something we procrastinate at. Cleaning out a closet that gets so overwhelming over time, we just delay. We find something easier or something more enjoyable to do. So what I want to talk to you about today is dominating your procrastination so that you have a great life. You may have a great life, but you'll have a less cluttered life after you take some of the steps that we'll talk about here. So what I want to do is, if you listen to the previous episodes, you know I've mentioned Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and she wrote the book on death and dying, and we were talking about that related to grieving. Let me read a quote of hers. "It's only when we truly know and understand that we have a limited time on earth, and that we have no way of knowing when our time is up, that we will begin to live each day to the fullest, as if it were the only one we had." So the reality is we don't know. We don't know if this is the last day we have on earth. We don't know if this is the last minute or hour. We only have the now, and that doesn't mean that we live flippantly. It means that we live with the knowledge that we should take action on things and not assume that we can delay it till tomorrow or next week or next year. I've actually found in my experience, I'm coming up on 58 years old, actually this Monday. It doesn't seem like I'm 58 in my brain, in my mind, but the reality is I've gone around the earth numerous times. I've experienced good, I've experienced bad, but one of the most self-sabotaging things in my own life has been procrastination. And the reality is once I made these changes to my life and started taking action with some of the tips I'm going to give you, my life got better. Not because it wasn't already better, I was able to free up energy, free up time, free up my ability to move and operate within the confines of my life just because I didn't have more junk, whether emotionally, physically, spiritually, and so on. And one of the number one things that sabotaged me and was my own self-sabotage was procrastination, delaying doing something. And what I actually found is when I just got it taken care of or got started on it, it went very quickly. And so the act of not doing it became more cumbersome than actually just taking action. I actually would say that that's actually one of the biggest issues in society in general. We delay so many things. Our health epidemic, certainly there are many things we could talk about, but the number one thing is we procrastinate. We put off eating healthy. We put off exercising. We put off taking care of ourselves, assuming or figuring somehow that we can deal with it later, or that we can deal with it medically or with a pill. And what we find is that's actually not true. That taking care of our health is the best path to a longer life. Taking care of our eyes, taking care of our relationship, not putting off spending time with our family in lieu of extra work to give our family more money, but instead taking care of not putting off the time spent, but making sure to diligently schedule it and do it. So I actually found in my experience that there can kind of be three general reasons why people procrastinate. And I would sum them up this way. People don't know how to move forward, and so they just delay. They don't care enough to move forward. It's not important enough. Hasn't been enough pain or maybe enough reward, or people are afraid to move forward or take action. It's better to just delay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about each one of these here, but the first is people who don't know how. I would say the majority of my life that was the case. I didn't know how to move forward. I didn't know how to take action. Even with the resources that are out there now, there's such an overwhelming amount. Who do you trust? What do you follow? What do you do? That's why I think it's so valuable to have a coach or someone that comes alongside us to help guide us in taking action or working through what steps we would do to take action. And so I think that really people not knowing is a direct result of, one, there's so much information out there, but two, kind of navigating through all of that and sorting it out actually becomes so overwhelming it's better just to delay. What we could say is that for me, for example, not knowing how to move forward, it just became easier to say, oh, I'm not going to do it. I'll just wait and delay that action or that path. And it ended up causing me so much pain and suffering because there were certain actions that would have been of benefit to myself, my family, my relationship, my health, had I taken action at the moment. But I simply didn't know how. That's not true now. We have the internet, we have the ability to ask advisors, you can ask online coaches, you can ask people that are experts in your area, you could ask a pastor, a advisor, a counselor, someone to point you in the right direction of what action or what step to take. Now they can't take the action for you, but they can at least provide you with the information and the process to move forward. The next step is people who don't care enough to change. Now, this is the first one is you don't know, but you still need to act and find the information to find the way forward. People who don't care enough to change actually become one of the biggest struggles for me because the pain isn't enough. For example, people who struggle with heart disease, they continue to live a lifestyle assuming that they're going to be like George Burns, if you know the old actor, who smoked cigars, who drank alcohol, who didn't really necessarily take care of himself, but he lived to be over 100 years old. And we assume that we're the exception like that. The reality, and statistically we know that taking care of ourselves, smoking, is going to result more than likely into health issues. Drinking excessive amounts of alcohol is going to cause health issues. Doing drugs, legal or not, are going to cause issues with our health, our relationships, or so forth. But again, we're under the mindset of we're the exception, so we don't care enough. There's not enough pain. There hasn't been enough physical or monetary or some sort of relational thing that's going to cause us enough pain to make the changes that are necessary. If you don't care, no amount of information is going to help you or motivation is going to help you to change. And frankly, you may not be ready to change. And the consequences of that is you may have an early death as a result of not being ready to make the changes. And that's sad, but that's reality. I'm hoping that you're not in that case, you're not in that camp, and you're willing to move forward and make the changes necessary in your life. The last one are people who are afraid to move forward, afraid to make the changes, who are afraid. And so therefore procrastination becomes just a coping mechanism or a way to not have the fear of change. A lot of people in the world are in that situation. It's better to deal with the bad that you know, but you know it, than to try to make it change and not have any idea, even with all the stories out there of how good the change and how beneficial it will be to you and your family and so forth. It's sort of like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Well, the struggle that I know is better than the potential struggle I don't. And so what my goal is to give you some strategies that are going to help you not be afraid or to alleviate that. And again, that's where a coach, someone to coach you through this process, to be there as a support mechanism, will help you with those processes and those changes. For me also, I was afraid to change. I was afraid because I knew what I knew. And even though I can look back and see how bad some of the things I was doing or feeling, it was easier just to manage the stuff that I'd already been managing for many years, emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually even, than to try to make a change and have it fall apart. Then I'm left even worse because I don't know how to handle this next mess. And frankly, it was just really faulty thinking on my part, because the reality was the change wasn't going to be any worse than what I was already struggling with. And I believe that's the case for the majority of people. So how do we combat procrastination? So overthinking or laziness actually led to a lot of the procrastination in my own life. And many of the people who I have done surveys of personally and just throughout my writing career and speaking, overthinking just creates a lot of issues. We overthink the issue, we overthink whatever's going on, and so therefore it just kind of handcuffs us and we delay. One of the fastest ways that I found to change this whole kind of gridlock or this handcuffed approach is what is known as the law of motion. And it really comes from Sir Isaac Newton, who did the famous, apple falling from the tree and gravity and so forth. But basically the law of motion says things at rest tend to stay at rest, and things in motion tend to stay in motion. So how we can process this is that if we get moving even a little bit, we are apt to keep moving. But if we just sit still, no action will ever occur. And so what I want to do is give you some tips here that you can use for yourself. Maybe you're driving in your car. Maybe you're listening to this at work. Maybe you're listening to this just relaxing. Here I'm going to give you an action plan for how to move forward, how to overcome and combat procrastination in your own life. So one of the first things is what is known as the 2-minute rule. And I first heard this with James Clear, a famous author who wrote a book called Atomic Habits. I'll link to it in my show notes. It's a fantastic book. It's a book that if you can read, you should read it. I would love to see kids in junior high and high school even implement this, coaches and sports programs implement this, and make it really something that's a curriculum item or used in some sort of way all the way down to the middle schools, high schools, up to college level, certainly in work environments too, because people like struggle with habits, but what we want to do is form habits that are going to be easy for us to implement and easy for us to continue and keep moving forward per the law of motion. So the 2-minute rule, in essence, says start something and do it for 2 minutes, whatever that is, and then see if you get to 2 minutes and you're done, okay, you've gotten something accomplished. But what we find is, just like the law of motion, that 2 minutes turns into 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and we find that we're more productive, able to get things done, able to make changes in our lives that will have a real immediate impact, but also a long-lasting impact over time. Just a few examples of things you can just begin to do. Take out the trash. So instead of having the trash can overflowing, and having somebody in the household, harp or state, take the trash out, or somebody, always doing this, if you see it, just grab the trash. Don't delay it. Don't wait till later. Grab the trash, tie it up, put a new bag in the trash can, and run it out to the trash can. It'll take you 2 minutes or less to do this, and it's over with. It doesn't have to be constantly looked at. Go out and pull a few weeds. You don't have to garden. You don't have to weed for a whole Saturday. Take a few minutes on the way out the door or coming in to just pull a few weeds. Do it for 2 minutes, and over time, you'll find that the weeding is done. It doesn't have to be a thing you set aside a morning or a whole day to do. Get the laundry that's dirty in your laundry baskets. Don't wait till Saturday. Grab the stuff that's there, toss it in the washer, and go ahead and kick off a load of laundry. The same. Grab the laundry, throw it in the dryer, get that going. It can be done. You don't have to fold all the laundry. You can, but work for 2 minutes and see how far you get. Do the dishes. Instead of seeing the dishes pile up, work for 2 minutes to clean some of those dishes. Get them done. Sometimes I found when I do that, and I happen to have a day or two's worth of dishes, I look at them and go, I'll do it later. Well, now I just work for 2 minutes, and generally I'm almost done. I'll just get them all done. And the same goes for unloading or loading the dishwasher. It takes less than 2 minutes. Work for 2 minutes, get it taken care of. If you have an email or letter you need to send out, take 2 minutes to start writing. You don't have to finish the whole thing, but if you work 2 minutes over a day or two, it's done. Pay a few bills. Now, a lot of us can speed this up by just simply making automatic bill payments online, have it just auto come out, a certain time of the month. But if you still write checks, still do the bills that way, pick a few bills, work on it for a few minutes, and be done. And do it over a couple days, and your bills are paid off. It's not something that piles up. We can do the same thing with new habits. So these are things that we already know, tasks that we already have in place. We just kind of put them off. New habits. Let's say you want to get in shape and you want to run. One of the hardest things is getting your clothes out, getting situated, getting motivated, and so forth. The 2-minute rule says, go ahead and have your clothes ready, get dressed, get your shoes on, and get out the door moving in under 2 minutes. Don't have to get your drink ready and all that. Get that stuff set out, get dressed, get your shoes on, and get out the door in 2 minutes or less. Same with exercise. We don't necessarily have to go to the gym. If you want, you can do some push-ups, some sit-ups, some stretching, but go ahead and roll out of bed and immediately spend 2 minutes, 3 minutes doing that. Don't make this big plan that causes us to go, I can't do it today, I'll delay it till tomorrow or the next day. Just get started. And then what you'll find is you'll have more motivation and more process, and that law of motion will go from 2 minutes to 5 minutes to 20 minutes to half an hour or whatever you can do. Let's say you want to clean a room. You have a room that needs to get cleaned. Well, go ahead and start in on it. Start in a corner and work for 2 minutes and work your way out. You want to write a book like I did. I've written 3 books. I've got a couple more out. And frankly, I've procrastinated because I've had some books written for a few years and they've just been sitting here waiting to be published. I'm taking action on those by spending a little bit of time getting the Amazon stuff set up and some of these things done that I just put off. So I'm in the same boat as what I'm telling you. You want to read a book. Some people commit at the beginning of the year to read a book, 1 book a month. And at the end of the year, they've read maybe 1 book. So go ahead and just spend a few minutes each day. Read a page or 2 and see where you're at. The next thing I would say is, like I mentioned, a coach. Get yourself a coach, somebody who can hold you accountable, who will. Get somebody who can help you. If you need help cleaning up a room or house, instead of asking a friend, unless they're really good at it, go ahead and pay a cleaner or organizer to come in and help you for an hour or 2, showing you and guiding you in some of these processes and getting kind of a plan situated that you can then work on yourself over a few minute periods each day. You need help doing taxes? Well, you can try to do them and keep putting them off, or just hire somebody to show you how to do them, and maybe you do them next year. Anything you need help with, you can find someone to assist you, and then you can implement, once you have sort of that guidance, you can implement these processes of just get started, get in motion, and see how that inertia and that momentum carries you through. The last thing I would say to you is we need to apply the done is better than perfect rule. And that states that getting something done, the first time at least initially, is better than seeking to have it done perfectly. Perfection is great in your mind. The problem is perfectionism and being a perfect-oriented person leads to procrastination and delay. When you find you can't be perfect or don't think you have the time to be perfect, you put it off. So what I would say to you is done is better than perfect, because you can always go back to done and tweak it to make it a little more perfect. Seeking to be perfect just never gets done. If we will implement these kind of things, the 2-minute rule to get started, the done is better than perfect, and just give yourself the ability to work a little bit at a time instead of seeing the end goal and having to have that arrive. Instead, a little bit at a time, you will reach your goal. I hope this helps. I hope it encourages you. I know that if you implement just these 2 things, so many parts of your life, so many parts of your relationships, so many parts of just your mentality, your mental strength, but your relaxation and be able to have a great quality life that is much more freeing rather than being stifled and locked up and handcuffed. My hope is that this will help you overall in your life. Again, this is Jonathan Cragle. This is Unleash the Cragle podcast. I hope this motivation helps you. Be sure to follow us at Instagram, Unleash the Cragle, YouTube, Unleash the Cragle. You can also email unleashthecragle@gmail.com. We're on all the major podcasts. We'll be on YouTube soon. Please share, like, subscribe, and thanks again so much for listening. We'll talk to you soon. Take care of yourself, take care of each other, and be kind to those when you can.